Hi, my name is Isaiah, and I'm a math major at the University of Florida, which means I can solve equations that nobody asked about and build absolutely nothing. So instead of waiting on a classroom, I'm learning to code the hard way. 6 months to build a product that makes $1,000 a month. Welcome to Broke or Built. So the story begins last week when I first came up with the idea, so let's get you caught up. So the idea for our app is going to be like a poker trainer app. That's kind of what I settled on doing. Now it's going to be a poker trainer app that helps somebody who's trying to get better at the game with their pre-flop and their post-flop sort of play. There's charts and there's GTO theory out there that we can reference to help build our app and help players learn how to make the mathematically optimal move depending on whatever position they're in. I'm not a poker expert, but I'm interested in getting better at the game myself. So I'm sort of trying to build a software that I want to use and hopefully solve a small problem for a niche group of people. I downloaded some of the apps that are similar out there last night, and I learned a lot in that experience, and I learned that there's a lot that I think can be improved. The market doesn't have what I'm looking for exactly, so I'm gonna sort of try to fill my own need. I'm excited to build this application, to learn about poker, to use, some underlying mathematics to help make better decisions in the game. And it should be something fun to build, and hopefully we can reach our goal of getting to 1K and beyond. That would be very, very cool. Who cares about the money? It's actually not about the money. It's genuinely about learning how to build and building something useful that we like to use and hopefully other people like to use and solves a problem for them. And I'm not just saying that like, it's not about the money. Of course it's about the money, sir. So I want to note that I'm not building a full GTO solver. That would be way too computationally expensive for my setup and my skills at the moment. Instead, we're just building a mobile-friendly version that's a pre-flop and a post-flop trainer. I'm using AI, obviously, but I'm using AI to help me understand concepts in the game of poker and computer science concepts that I'm not familiar with. Just like any other software, this is going to be split between the back end and the front end. And I'm going to be focusing majority of my coding skills on the back end where the logic lives. So all of that code is going to be publicly available on my GitHub. The link is going to be in the description of this video if you want to check it out. And the front end, when we get there, is going to be AI generated. Just finished module 2 and the check on it. So that's good to go. Now I'm going to write up this module 2 MD doc that's going to be attached to the GitHub. That kind of explains what the code does and how to use it. I'm going to do that for every module. So once we're done with that, then we can move on to the next thing and get closer to having this application finished and get to the fun part, building the UI, even though for me, this is the fun part. So going into this, I kind of had AI build me like a roadmap on how to actually build this out logically in the back end. And that's what I'm referring to when I talk about the modules. So the next day was spent essentially teaching my computer the game of poker, how to build a deck of cards, how to deal them out, and then determining which hand is stronger than another hand. This challenge was a little bit harder than I anticipated in the beginning, but we went through it and got the logic working. I took the output that my code was producing and compared it to a third-party Python library's output to verify that everything was correct, and it was. So that felt good. And then after I finished that, I started thinking about what features do I want in the actual app itself, and almost got lost in the sauce a little bit thinking about the back end and the logic of the app, and didn't have a clear idea exactly on what the software was going to do or look like. So the next day I kind of spent time thinking about that. All right, it's a new day, and today I'm gonna spend time building up more of a customer profile. So I'm gonna use Claude. This is gonna be an exception. This isn't the backend logic for the application itself, but I'm gonna use Claude to generate some code so we can start scraping some reviews off the App Store, start scraping Reddit, and start finding problems that actual people are having in the niche. I think one of the most important things that I learned from my time studying like quantitative finance and mathematics, etc., just being in a quantitative field in general, is that we're going to rely on the data and not our intuition. So instead of me thinking what a person wants, or me thinking, well, maybe this feature might be something worth adding, I'm just going to try to scrape as much information and data on any potential customer and build up a strong, detailed customer profile for at least a couple hours today. So that's what we're doing to start our day. Customer profile, baby. Let's go. We were able to get information off of the App Store, the Apple App Store, Google Play, and then YouTube. So yeah, what we're doing now is we're scraping YouTube comments. Any comment that's been on one of the bigger poker channels. You can see the names of the channels here, and we're going through those, scraping their 50 most recent videos and the top 100 comments from those videos up to 100 comments. And then we're going to compile that into a CSV and see if we can find any signal in that data. So building our customer profile is turning more into like a little research project. And this is some of the quantitative approach that I've learned from quant finance that I just enjoy doing, because you don't have to guess. You can kind of just get answers to questions. So it's going good, building the customer profile out. After building out the customer profile, I had a much stronger idea of what features people actually wanted. And I spent time looking at other apps that were similar still. And then later that evening, I spent time on YouTube just watching like Claude design tutorials, because I really wanted to get a visual of what I wanted the app to look like. So the next day, I dropped my wife off at her nursing program, and then it was back to work. All right, today we were finna lock in on this design. I stayed up, got a whole bunch of inspiration on how I'm gonna design this app. So today we're gonna spend a lot of time in Claude Code, Claude Design, and we're gonna get a visual palette, a visual brand kit made for our application today. And we should have a lot stronger idea of what our app is gonna look like. So that's super exciting. I got some little small mock-ups done using just AI image generation, but now we're gonna try to turn it into some professional designs. So let's go. So this day was spent 100% in Claude Design, and I'm not a designer, but Claude Design is absolutely amazing. So my workflow that I had set up was I connected Claude to Mobbin's MCP, which gave it access to Mobbin's database of screenshots and recordings. And this is really good because it made it very easy to build a design system. And when using Claude Design, this design system, Claude will always reference the design system, so your fonts, your colors, and your general styling will stay consistent across screens and across different assets. So eventually, when we're making social media content, a website, and things like that, I can use Claude Design and still have a very similar, consistent brand feel to the app and other assets that we will eventually generate in the future. Today we're just going to continue the designing mainly. I didn't expect the designing to take up all day, but the results are honestly turning out way better than I expected. So today I'm just going to continue designing and keeping that going. It's been really nice because the feedback from the designing is basically feeding what features that I need to build. And it's obviously giving me a visual for what the app is going to look and feel like. Truth be told, it's turning out better than I expected. So it has me super excited to continue to work on it. So after getting feedback from the design, I essentially settled on 3 main tabs for the application. One is going to be the actual like home trainer, like sort of poker simulator where you actually get to play hands and get feedback on your play. That's the main core function of the app that helps somebody get better at the game. Another tab is going to be a learn tab, which is going to be for new players, people who aren't as familiar with poker or some of the poker concepts, where they can learn some of the concepts themselves through there. And then the third is just going to be like a chart, pre-flop chart that you can come back and reference in your game, whether you're playing live or online. You can just have it accessible on your phone at all times. Obviously a profile page, settings, all that boring stuff. And there was some coding that I didn't get recorded. There was another day where I went back to the back end and I was doing the hand coding myself. And that's the part where you're able to generate spots, calculate equity, calculate which decision is the mathematically optimal move to make. But that kind of wraps up the week, and there's going to be a screen where we go over what we've done and what we have left to do. So what we've done is about 70% of the logic and 90% of the design that's already done and taken care of. What's left is we need to generate pre-solved spots, we need to finish the design, we need to build the database for users, and then code the front end, because right now it's just a design. Then next we need to ship the app, obviously, start marketing, and that's going to be the difference between this just being a project on my computer and a real app where we can hit our goal of making 1K MRR. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead, like, subscribe, leave a comment, any suggestions you guys have on what I can do to improve the app or these videos. Any feedback is positive feedback for me. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. Have a great day.